table, both staff tables. I just want to make sure. I'm gonna go into the Zoom link and just see that I can hear.
Okay.
Is there a music picture yet? No.
Just streaming.
So, Tina, that was great. And definitely, we got it one, tomorrow for 2 weeks, because I can.
That's what, Adam said. Yeah, but once you're back, we'll find the time.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I was so happy when Chris came up with it.
That was so good. I talked to Jamie the other
Yeah.
night too. Now I know why he was asking me all those questions last summer.
Yep. He told me after that, he's like, okay, now I can do it.
I was thinking, who knows all this? Oh, God. I should have brought the blue book and showed Jason.
Yeah.
The staff, unbeknownst to
Jana, can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Maybe yourself a YouTube issue or live on YouTube and Facebook. If you want to just check Facebook, and just make sure it's all.
Okay, anyway, where she's coming from. Issue.
So what you got?
How about now, Sheldon? I switched it, went back over to the page, so I wonder if now the audio is good.
Okay, I'll go. Good morning, Tina.
Hi, how are you? Good, how are you? So good to see you. Yes, me too. And in person. I know, right? I'm so excited that you're doing the webinar at the end of the month.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Okay, Adriana, can you hear me?
We were very happy to get asked, so.
And Sally was telling me about another project the two of you are partnering on, that I'm going to see if Stephanie might be interested in, if she can help even with social media promotion or something like
That
that.
would be great. Yes. I think it's going to be a good program, just kind of educating people on government documents and how I think most people have no idea.
And that's where she's coming from. Like she wants to put together like handout materials that are for people that just don't know anything yet about government. You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's right up her alley.
I think it'll be great.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling better, thank you.
Pneumonia or different?
I did have pneumonia, and the only time because I was in a car accident that day, and I went to get X-rays and images from the car accident. I was sore from the car accident, but they're like, yeah, you actually have the beginnings of pneumonia. So I've been on antibiotics for a week, and I'm feeling just about 99%.
It's amazing the things that get caught when you're looking for something else entirely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm grateful because I was just at the beginning stages. Like within 2 days, I was feeling better. You know, but
Equally or not, probably as nearly as before, but how's the car?
oh, it's wrecked. Yeah, it wasn't a horrible accident, but the airbag went off. You know, when the airbag was off, it just decided to wreck it usually. I'm in between cars while I wait for the insurance payout right now. Yeah, I had a heck of a birthday. I got into a car accident on my birthday last week.
Just what you need, right?
Yeah, I'm just grateful. I'm fine and at peace. You know, with the insurance, it'll sort of be a wash. So.
On the one hand, you feel like you've been made whole in that respect, but on the other hand, it was a pain in the butt. It's a pain in the butt to just go through it.
They're nice.
Yeah. Especially on your
That's the
birthday.
technical term for it too.
That's exactly right. Oh.
Gosh, but no, yeah, well, I look at it, I was born at 2:10 in the afternoon. The accident happened in the morning, so that was all part of my 46th year. My 47th is looking good.
It started by healing with the pneumonia. Yeah. On the way out. It's a good way to think about it. Like, this was not technically my birthday.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm gonna go see one of those.
I'll call the order now. Okay, welcome everyone to the second meeting of the Commission on America 250, which we're now calling America 250/CT, to be clear that it is not the 250th anniversary of anything in Connecticut. This is a national convening of the states around the commemoration of the signing of the Declaration of Independence in 2026. And we are preparing now, which is very good news, because we'll have some time to really make this a big celebration and an inclusive celebration. As we said at the first meeting, those of us who are putting this together see this as an opportunity to look at everyone's history, everyone who was affected by these events so long ago, and to be able to tell some new stories, perhaps. So in that regard, we have put together a commission that we feel is inclusive of many of the different groups that are interested in history generally and specifically in the history of this period, and particularly in Connecticut. We're trying to stay focused as our commission's charge on the state of Connecticut, events and places and various historic events around that time here in our state. And of course, we have a very proud history in Connecticut. And we like to say we had the first written constitution in the world. I don't know how that stands up historically, but the fundamental orders are widely regarded as one of the first written constitutions in the world, 1636. So, and we went from there, and we are still leaders in the area of civic education, in the area of history, commemoration, and we have a proud heritage, and we intend to keep it up. So, thank you for all of you being here. I don't think we'll go through introductions again. We did it last week, but suffice it to say, this is all now on the internet, and I'm going to have Sheldon of the Connecticut Humanities Council, which, by the way, the Connecticut Humanities Council will administer this program. They're integrally involved. And I want to, of course, first thank Jason Mancini, who is the executive director, who is my vice chair, who will be doing a lot of the work of this commission, and thanks to his staff, who are all here today also to help us. So today I see this as a meeting, kind of a working meeting, really, to try to get, last meeting we put together a basic structure. We got to know each other a little better. We have representation from many groups and agencies on this commission, and today we're going to try to more fully flesh out the subcommittees that we put together at the last meeting. So there will be a working period during this meeting, and if you've seen the agenda, about 45 minutes where we can start to convene these groups and come up with, the sort of exact mission of each subcommittee and how we're going to operate. The first thing I want to do, though, is explain how we're working this, because we are both in person and virtual today. Some of our members will be joining us virtually, so I would like to ask Sheldon Oliver to explain this to us so that we'll know exactly how that's working, because for purposes of the Freedom of Information Act, we need to be completely publicly available to anyone, so it will also be on, well, she'll explain all this to you better than I can. So, Sheldon?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Today we are a hybrid event, so we're here together in person, but we also have folks joining in virtually from the commission. We also have a separate live stream viewing. That's where folks in the public, as mentioned, can watch on Facebook or on our Semiquincentennial YouTube. All links have been provided or can be provided for anyone interested. There is a public comment section at the end for the end of the meeting. So folks who are joining us live viewing, the public has chance to discuss them when we get to that point. I have on my end, for the commissioners who are listening, I can see you if you raise your hand or have a comment you want to share with the group. I can make sure that the group knows so that your thoughts and comments are heard. Other than that, I think we're pretty okay for now. But anything else arises, as Steve mentioned, CTH staff is here to help us. Thank you.
And I wonder if we could just mention the link for the public. I think it's on the Humanities website. Is that correct?
Sure. It's the CT Humanities Facebook homepage. As soon as you get to the CT Humanities Facebook homepage, is right there, ready for live viewing. And same thing with our YouTube channel. Just search Connecticut Humanities, and there should be a live button where you can click and just tune right in.
My understanding is quite a few people watched us last meeting, even though we were very new. So be aware, you're on TV. Okay, I think that's it for announcements for the moment. We first need an approval of the minutes from November 18th. And the minutes have been, again, everything will be on the website, and there is a shared site for those of you on the commission, which we can talk about in a little while. So, do I have a motion? Yes. Second, thank you, Steve. Okay, so motion seconded. Any discussion of the minutes from the last meeting? Okay, with that, then I would ask for an approval of the minutes. All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye. Any noes? Abstentions? Okay, so voted. Minutes are approved. All right, next, first of all, I think I'll turn this over to Jason Mancini, my vice chair, and to introduce members of the staff are going to talk to us about the regional and state activity that and national activity that has gone on since the last time we met. And so, Jason, again, I want to thank the Humanities Council for bringing us all together in this way, and thanks for all your work on this. So,
thank you. We're honored to be part of this this process and supporting the commission work. Staff has been very engaged and supportive here, and we're really excited to be able to connect our commission with the charge that we've been given by the governor, and to connect all of the residents and visitors to our state. So Scott Wands, our Deputy Director of Grants and Programs, is going to provide an update on state, regional, national initiatives for the 250th.
Thank you, Jason, and thank you, Denise. Just want to give a few quick updates. We've been making sure that we're connecting our commission work to the national and regional networks, and to that extent, we had a New England Regional 250 Commission meeting last week on January 12th. Hearing what some of the other states are doing, I'd say we're right around the middle. I'd say New York and Massachusetts, maybe you're just a little bit ahead of where we were and been meeting a little bit longer. New Hampshire just set up its commission and hasn't had its first meeting yet, and Maine is still without a commission at this time. So we're right in the middle of things. This group is going to continue to meet at least quarterly. The next meeting is scheduled for March. It will also be virtual, but they're talking about having a hybrid in-person and virtual option in June at Fort Ticonderoga. So it's New England and New York, and New York kind of has two different groups. Fort Ticonderoga is its own, and they've been a little bit further along, I'd say, than anyone else. Has some curriculum that they want to demonstrate, and will be an opportunity for us to see on the ground what they're doing in New York. Nationally, we're connected to AASLH's National 250th Network, and they have all the 250 commissions gathering about quarterly as well. They had a meeting in December, and will be next meeting in March, and we'll be joining them on March 31st. There's also a National 250th Summit that is being planned for Williamsburg, Virginia, from March 10th through the 12th. This is held by the Virginia 250 Commission, marking the 250th anniversary of the formation of Virginia's Committee of Correspondence, and by extension, the multi-state cooperation that led up to the American Revolution. Rob Krett and representatives from Connecticut Humanities are discussions about attending that in person going on March 10th through the 12th. And finally, there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes a lot of which with Rob Krett, who's been in contact with the art museum directors, American Alliance of Museums, American Association for State and Local History, about continued advocacy for national funding for the work that we and other commissions are doing across the country. And Jason and I will be attending the American Alliance of Museums Museum Advocacy Day, possibly with Amherst Williams as well, at the end of February, and we would continue through that forum to advocate for funding for the Commission's work as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions about any of that? Just for those of you who don't know as much about all this, ASLH, I believe, is the Association of State and Local History, right?
American, AASLH.
AASLH, sorry, yes. So just clarification for the minutes. So there's obviously a lot going on nationally, and that's important for us to stay involved with. I have been personally involved with a bill that's been going through Congress on civic education, which I think might be relevant to what we're doing, and we're hoping to talk to Rosa DeLauro, our congresswoman, about that bill at some point in the near future. Okay, so next. Oh, public commission requirements, right. So we alluded to the fact that as a state commission, we are subject to the Freedom of Information Act, and so we will be following all the recommendations of FOI, including the fact that today we have a hybrid meeting and there's a lot of rules now around all that. So just to be aware, again, which we mentioned at the first meeting, that you as commissioners are subject to that act, and we are going to be getting advice from DECD's lawyers about exactly what that might mean for you. If you're a member of the public, for example, it's different than if you're a state employee. State employees are also subject to all the ethics rules about gifts and that sort of thing. So we're happy to give advice to anyone who has questions about that, and I'll come up with a written list of things by the next meeting. And we'll make sure that we follow all those rules, because I think this is going to be of great interest to the public. And so I want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to participate, to comment, and I hope you caught the fact that at the end of this meeting, there will be an opportunity for the public to comment if they have questions or comments about what we're doing. So we'll save that to the end, though, because we don't want it to disrupt our meeting. So, okay. So that's just a reminder about the public commission requirements. Okay, logistics. I'm going to turn this back over to Jason to discuss what we're going to do here today.
Thank you. So behind the scenes, we have been, Connecticut Humanities staff has been meeting every week, sort of pre-plan what's going on and how we will implement the actions of the commission. So I will ask staff members Lisa Comstock and Mike Kamizis to share a little bit of information on our communications workspace, our commission workspace and communications. Lisa is Deputy Director for Administration, and Mike is our Manager of Partnerships and Projects for Connecticut Humanities.
Good morning, everyone. So Lisa and I are working on ways to collaborate, including looking at different kinds of workspaces, especially Google Drive, figuring out how to set that up for the commission in a way that makes sense so we can work together once the subcommittees get working and share documents and work collaboratively for meetings. We are also working on internally a system to make communications among closed groups easier. We have hired a staff member who's taken that over, and it is close to implementation. We will probably be running that with the subcommittees at some point, so more news is coming on that. Probably by the next meeting, we'll have at least something in place to test out and try.
Thank you. And Amy Cotton-Bogish will give us some updates on the website initiative.
Good morning, everybody.
Amy is our manager of marketing, communications, and engagement.
Good morning. So I'm referring to our site, ct250.org, which is our placeholder site that we have right now, as there will be a web developer for this work that we're doing. Currently, the executive order and the agendas, minutes, and the recordings of our meetings are available on that site. We've added translation functionality and accessibility features to that, and we'll be turning on a form for people to use to express interest in the work of the commission, so that those names can then be transferred to that web developer for further communications.
Does anybody have questions about those two parts?
Did everybody get the website, ct250.org? You can go right on there and see. It's fairly rudimentary at this point, but we'll be putting much more up on that as we work along. Okay, and I had a question from someone just before the meeting about communications. Like, if there are things that we want to say to each other, is that space, as I understand it, is not set up yet or set up yet?
Communications is coming
I guess that's a question.
It's coming online. We can work in the interim now for kind of an email list back and forth, but that will be coming online within the next quarter, whenever the next meeting is.
Okay, I had a question about if someone had a comment from the commission right now, which email should they send that information to? Is there one in specific?
For now, anyone on the commission who has questions or comments, they can send right to my email, and I'll make sure it's appropriately dealt with. All of you should already have my email, but if not, I'll make sure that you do. So please reach out anytime.
Okay, that's Sheldon Oliver.
S.Oliver@cthumanities.org.
Okay, got that, everyone? Yeah, Steve?
Could I go back to just, sorry, I should have mentioned it before, on the issue of freedom of information?
Right.
If we have, like, in our committee, the education, if we called a subcommittee meeting, is there any freedom of information requirements for that?
Yes.
Like if we have a private Zoom communication or something, how is that handled as far as freedom of information?
Yeah, that's a great question. I forgot to mention that. The subcommittees are also subject to FOI. And so I think what you need to do is just make sure there are minutes of the meeting, and those minutes would be published. But I'm not sure if we'll be able to. It depends when the meetings are. And so I guess from this day forward, we're going to start having the subcommittees meet. So we'll have to work out who takes those minutes. It probably would be a staff person from the Humanities Council. But we're in the process of hiring a coordinator, so we still have to get some staff involved. But that's the short answer is yes, it is subject to FOI. So those meetings would have to be, the minutes would have to be available. It doesn't mean the meeting has to be available to the public, but the minutes have to be available. Yeah.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Okay.
I guess I have one quick follow-up on that. So it's just minutes that are subject, essentially, like we need to create minutes and document our work, but like personal notes aren't subject to records retention policies for this? Okay.
No, we just have to have the minutes available, and it has to be available publicly.
Yeah.
Right.
Great. Thank you.
Because ultimately, the actions of the subcommittees will be, if there's any action items, they'll be voted on at the full commission meeting. So there'll be plenty of chance to discuss at that point. And at that point, the public would have availability for comment and so forth. So, okay. All right, moving on. I'll turn it back to Jason. He's going to talk about the role of the Humanities Council, what activities we have to undertake to fulfill our obligations as a commission in the next couple of weeks or months, and where we're going from here. So,
Thank you.
All right.
So what I'd like to do is just orient everybody to what Connecticut Humanities does first, and the way in which we saw a natural fit for administering the activities of the commission. Connecticut Humanities' principal responsibilities, as we've been engaged in public humanities for 50 years, almost 50 years now, is based on grant making and supporting programs across the state. We are engaged deeply in digital projects, including ConnecticutHistory.org and Teach at CT. We're working on a mobile app called Contours. These are all initiatives that we see as our core responsibility to the residents of and visitors to Connecticut in supporting the cultural sector. We also, in various partnerships, work with statewide organizations to improve the capacity of organizations, cultural organizations, to function, professionalize, deliver quality programs, exhibits, and content to the public. So we work in the professional development arena as well. And for the purpose of ourselves and also this commission, we will be engaged in various development activities to support financially the work of the commission and to make sure that we are seeding content and deliverables for the future. This is certainly something we see as a long-term endeavor, not just to 2026, but the 8 years of anniversary, if you will, that succeed the signing of the Declaration of Independence during the American Revolutionary era. So we see this, again, as a long-term endeavor. We're deeply committed to, in terms of supporting the work of the commission. We have responsibilities to our board and to the public beyond the commission, but with respect to the commission, we see a lot of alignment, and therefore we will do everything we can to support this. Principally, I will be working closely with Denise on producing a report to the governor initially. That we're aiming for end of January delivery date. We've created a number of documents, and we have summary information and minutes that we'll be drawing from to produce that report. I have asked staff members to participate in subcommittee work more as a conduit for information, not to do the actual work. The commissioners and the subcommittee members will be principally responsible for those activities. I'll get into the subcommittee roles shortly, but we're looking for a committed group of commissioners and subcommittee folks to do the work. We're here, and staff is here to make sure that the chair and the vice chair have the information from the subcommittees and from the public that we need to have to make the commission function effectively. As I mentioned, our broader goals, CTH staff within their various capacities, whether it's grants and programs, digital, philanthropy, and so on, will participate and provide updates on what we are doing as an organization to best inform the subcommittees and the commission on the broader cultural initiatives across Connecticut. As Mike and Lisa have indicated, we will be providing workspaces for everybody digitally and for the subcommittees. And Cindy, who you have not met today yet, will be our key and principal coordinator for philanthropic initiatives. So Denise and I are working diligently on building that level of support, not just from the state, but also private and corporate sources. So we'll be looking to all of you for support from the public who are listening. This is the kind of thing that we hope will have engagement from private sources as much, so we can continue to grow the cultural capacity of Connecticut and begin to connect it integrally, not just to the historical initiative, and begin to connect it integrally, not just to the historical initiatives, but to the civics, civic literacy, and so on that we imagine for the future of the state. I think that covers CTH role here. Should I just roll into
let's talk about the subcommittees,
as Denise mentioned at the outset of this meeting, this will largely be a working meeting today. We'll break out into subcommittees in different rooms. I'll get to that in a minute. The goal here, staff along with the commission leaders have worked to summarize the charge of the commission, started identifying commission chair or subcommittee chairs rather, and subcommittee membership. We're asking all of the subcommittees to vet those initial lists, to come up with a more concrete list of participants that they feel will be working members of the subcommittees. We'll ask the subcommittees to identify a minute taker from the group. And then within each group, each subcommittee will ask to identify the particular goals and deliverables, as well as work plans for their respective area. And then we'll get into coordinating meeting times, frequency, and so on. Staff will support and coordinate those gatherings. I think, yes, I think that's it for now. And then we're on to the advisory.
Yes, okay. So before we actually get to the subcommittee work, one more thing I'd like you to know about is that we are planning to put together an advisory council of those outside the commission who are interested in all this. And I see it as a very broad group who will also help us gather resources for the commission, but also those who may just have a strong interest or a strong background in this period, whether they're historians or educators or whoever is interested in being on this advisory. And I would expect them to be the ones helping the subcommittees identify projects. It could be they're also from a variety of different areas of the state. I'm very conscious of geographic diversity that we need to have represented. And my private goal, I guess, and I'll talk to the subcommittee involved with this, is to have a contact person in every town in the state that we can communicate with and encourage them to have activities in those towns. As we said at the first meeting, we see this as a real bottom-up kind of idea. We're here to convene the towns and cities and to feed them ideas, perhaps, and they will probably feed us ideas. So that's kind of the way I see this working. I think it could be a real way to galvanize and bring the state together around this event as a way to kind of try to make sense of what's going on in our state right this moment in history. So that's sort of where we're headed in a general sense. But the advisory council, I'm all ears if you have people you think that you can identify that would be interested in joining this advisory council. And that will be a separate effort, but to some extent I would expect that some of the names that have come forward of groups, it could be a group or a person, to be on this advisory council. It's another way of bringing people in that can't actually be on the commission itself. So we're putting that together right now. I have a document that describes what I see this advisory council doing, its role and kind of responsibilities. And so I'll put that together, and I'd like everyone to look at it. I think anything we put together, I'd like to have the advice of this group on what it's saying, how it's saying it, and how we're putting it up for the public distribution. So right now, consider it a draft idea, and we'll get it to you and let you look at it and comment, if you will. All right? Great. All right, so subcommittees. All right, here we go. So how are we going to do this?
So we're going to break out into different spaces for the subcommittees. We'll be focused today on 4. Community and organizational outreach, which will meet upstairs. Educational subcommittee will meet downstairs. The governance or bylaws subcommittee will work upstairs. And the tourism and marketing subcommittee will work downstairs. We have 2 others, the youth subcommittee and inclusion, diversity, equity, and access subcommittee that we're not building out, but we will be asking the subcommittees to identify representation, the 4 subcommittees that I just mentioned, to identify representation for youth and diversity, equity, and inclusion from their existing committees that will feed into those other subcommittees to make sure that we have representation there. So what we'll do is break out for 45 minutes. Each group will also have online participants. There's some folks that are on the call here from the commission that aren't able to attend in person, so we'll have those breakouts set up. So 45 minutes there. We'll come back and do a report back for 15 minutes for the highlights from the chairs of the subcommittees, and then we'll come back beyond that for public comment.
And we do have packets for each subcommittee. We have a brief description of what that subcommittee is and who so far is on it, I believe, and some other documents that you can use in the discussions, correct? Yeah. Okay. Any questions? Everybody set to go? Okay, great. So,
I'm just going to start handing their packets out.
okay, great. So two groups up here and, sorry, go ahead.
Upstairs is this room, so
Oh, okay.
the two groups will be in this room. Sorry, there got lost in translation. And then downstairs is you go on down the stairs right here and make a left. There is a Holcomb Center down there. There's a table set up for.
I believe so.
Did go out. You are downstairs.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
I'm great. How are you today?
Doing all right. I heard you were going to actually be in town.
Yeah.
let's see. I don't have the list in front of me, but, oh yes, we'll start with Amris, who is our new chair of the Community and Organizational Outreach Subcommittee.
Great. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. I'm Amris Williams with the Connecticut League of History Organizations. As Denise said, we had a very lively conversation. I think trying to think about the best strategies, trying to develop strategies for community engagement and outreach that ensure that we live up to our inclusive principles on this commission. So I think that we're still having that conversation. And if folks have thoughts that they would like to bring to our group about the best mechanisms for doing outreach that can reach all of the different groups in communities on the ground who we really want to be involved here, we would be really pleased to have those. I don't know, I want to keep this kind of brief in terms of our highlights. We discussed a number of names to add to the commission. We're going to be meeting again soon so that we can work out what I think are some still open-ended issues that we need to figure out. I'm not sure what else would be good to. We talked about better outreach to the Latinx community, disability groups, community colleges as a potential avenue for doing outreach, especially with some younger people. Thinking about not just arts groups, but artists and folks in the cultural community at the ground level. And I think one of my big takeaways from our conversation is thinking about how we pitch and talk about the work of the commission, not necessarily as about the American Revolution, but thinking about engaging people in the ideas of the Declaration of Independence, of the incompleteness of that revolution, and thinking thoughtfully about how we approach the public to get them engaged in this, because, and this is where I think it will need to be a process of listening as well as guidance and education. So I don't know if there's anyone else from our subcommittee who wants to add anything to that brief report.
Very well said. I sat in on that group, and that's a really nice encapsulation of it, so thank you. Okay, Steve, education.
Sure. I think we saw, even though at the top of our thing it said pre-K to college education, that we actually think it would be more effective to do education in the broadest sense. That we would do education that would, because some education would be for all groups, but we would see programming, we would see materials created in some cases for all, in some cases maybe just for a K-5 audience or something. So we were looking at education in a broad sense. I think it's obvious that some of these committees, their tasks and goals, I think our thought was an awareness campaign that America 250 is even coming. I mean, I don't want to make that lightly, but I think to get educators and museum folks and library folks just aware that this is coming, and to plant the seed that we're going to want them all to be involved in this. We also saw that there was just a minor point that there's a couple weaknesses on our not weaknesses, but we're still filling in some, hey, we want a couple more, another person from libraries, want another person from museums. We talked about that possibility. And then, interestingly, we spent some time on will this, or how is this handled? Because this always comes to education. Will this potentially become political in any way? We spent a lot of some time on would certain groups sort of become involved. Hopefully not, but Sally's totally convinced that they will. So that was something that we talked about as well. And then we talked about the various groups that we would be reaching out to for assistance and Amris. Also, we're going to want to get from you a couple more folks from Historical Society world that we might want to hook with.
Happy to talk about that, Steve.
Thank you.
Okay, governance, bylaws?
Yes.
You guys meet?
I'll be reporting.
Okay.
So in some ways, we are the necessary good of the body because we have some of the nuts and bolts tasks at hand. So just to go rather quickly, we identified a secretary. Both Sheldon and I took notes as part of the process. We identified a chair in Ariane Orozco, who is a representative of the Office of the Secretary of the State, as you know. We also looked at the potential of expanded two types of membership, both the members of the subcommittee, what that might look like, people who are focused on governance, maybe 6 to 12 members tops. And then we also looked at how it is that we build an advisory for the body. You know, we heard your ask that there be representation, geographical, demographic, from all over the state. How do you manage that? How do you build it out? Also, how do you balance between members of the public that are just like you and me, or members of the public who are philanthropists, or who are business people, right, who leverage a lot of their resources in this type of effort? So that's part of what we were thinking. We're starting to get short lists together and perhaps have ways to bring in people who are interested by expressing a letter of interest, and also a qualification of some sort. Nothing too rigorous, but enough for us to know that they are interested and excited about what we're doing. Also, the right size, we talked about that. For next steps, we really did talk about the report to the governor, something that I think that's important. How do we start to tell the story to the state through the governor? Also, the establishment of bylaws. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. I bet somewhere, someone has already started the bylaws for this type of body, so we're going to be looking at our neighbors to the north and east, and then beyond. And then finally, again, the event, we did a meeting frequency, how we're going to run ourselves as part of the conversation. So, great. That's a short report on us.
Okay. Any questions, anybody? No? Okay, and tourism and marketing. Who took notes?
I did. The group included Amy, Anthony, Joe, and myself. Anthony agreed to be the note taker. I agreed to be the chair. We took a look at the recommended list of potential committee members, and we identified who knows some of those individuals and who else we might be considering. We're planning a follow-up meeting early next week to reconvene to make sure that the list is covering all the diversity issues that we talked about, skills, geography, ethnicity. Right-sizing the group, we're shooting for 10 to 12-ish committee members. Joe's been designated to be the representative for the IDEA committee. We also talked about sort of a two-prong approach, awareness and then supporting the work of the committee and specific events eventually. We also talked about putting the graphic standards on the website so that when people participate there, they will be able to pull that information from that location. And we also discussed looking to our colleagues in Mass and New York, for example, of work that those committees might be doing. And then we finished with a discussion about funding and budget and where some of those things might come from to drive the work of the committee.
Great. Another plug for awareness, sounds like. Okay, thank you very much. I can hear all the next steps coming, and our job right now actually will be to set some new meeting dates for this group, but also I'm hoping that the subcommittees will start setting those meeting times and dates too, and make sure they get them to us, because we need to publish all of that. It needs to be very public, okay? All right, anything else, Jason?
Yes, could I?
Yes.
Can I just ask, if subcommittees are going to have meetings, should those be scheduled through you guys, or should the chairs do them themselves, or how should that work?
I think it would probably be easy if the chairs coordinate.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Just checking.
Yeah. Eliminating a step is probably.
No, I'm all for it. I was just being sure.
I know, as long as all the subcommittee chairs have the capacity to do one of those calendar invite things and stuff like that. I don't know how to do that, so.
And I think just ensuring that minutes come back to Connecticut Humanities.
Right.
I think if you send them to Sheldon, or Amy, do you prefer to go to you or Sheldon? Send them to Sheldon, and she'll coordinate their access online.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I think we got a lot done today. It was a really good meeting. Okay, now it is time for public comment. I don't know if we have any comments from the public. Do we, I don't know.
We have Alice wanted to offer something
Alice.
from the public.
Yeah.
And if there's anything coming in online, just once
Yeah,
Alice is done, let us know.
I'll be quick, because I know your meeting was supposed to end at 12. I'm Alice Ridgway. I'm the chair for Litchfield's America 250 Committee. And it was wonderful to participate in this subcommittee and listen. I have two requests from a town. One is an acronym list. Our Birth to Three Interagency Coordinating Council passed it out at every meeting because all the acronyms are different. Yes. But and also online, I think it'll help people to read the minutes and such. The other is the libraries, the schools, the historical societies, the DAR, the SAR, the CAR, Children of the American Revolution. They are the low-hanging fruit. We've had relationships for ongoing 20 to 30 years. Mm-hmm. We need your help identifying those community members who have historically been underrepresented, who they don't know the Rep War story. I think Maisa mentioned that, if I've got her name right. So we need from you, it's bidirectionality, right? We need you to tell us who the good contact people are to reach out to, and then we can help them to tell us what matters. Does that help?
Yes.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to this.
I'm so glad you were here. And by the way, just in case anyone didn't realize, there are 250th things going on out there, and Alice is part of one of them in Litchfield. They already have a committee on America 250, so do a number of other communities that I heard about today. So our job is to be the connective tissue, I would say, and to make sure and that's a great suggestion, Alice, about getting you connected with other members of your community who potentially could help us diversify. Yeah. Okay. Do we have any other questions from online?
Nothing from Facebook, and we're just looking at YouTube.
Okay. Well, unless we have anything else, any questions, concerns, I think we'll move then to setting next meeting dates. We're considering making this a quarterly meeting, so this would be the first of 2023. So we'll set some dates. I guess the next one would be maybe March, and then June, July. And then one probably in November, toward the end of the year. The first report from this committee, from the commission to the governor, will be theoretically at the end of the month. We may have a little slack time on that, but we will certainly get that out to everyone. I'd like everyone to see a draft of that before we actually submit it, so that we get comments back from all of you as well. So we haven't set any dates at this point, but I guess we'll, we're open to suggestion. I guess, you want to try to get at least a date for the next meeting right now. So we're mid-January. It'll be more like April.
We're in April. April.
So, I'm not going to make it April 15th. No, I'm not going to do that. Let's go for like the third week in April. Any restrictions there?
Cannot do the 18th.
Is that a school break? I don't know if it affects.
Oh yes, school break. That's right. I've got obligations around that too. So maybe let's go back to maybe the first week in April. First week in April. Any?
I'm just not available, but.
All right. Well. Let's come up with a date in the first week of April, as long as that's avoiding anything. We're not doing April Fool's Day, no.
That's a Saturday.
We could try to, right, we could try to stick with Wednesdays. It's midweek. It seems to avoid a lot of other things. So how about April 5th?
Looks like it's Passover.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, that's on the
Easter is that
cusp of
Sunday.
Passover.
And Easter is that Sunday. Okay, well, Well, we don't want to do Passover, and we don't want to do Easter Sunday. So then we're into the next week, but that's school break week. Oh, no. Well,
I think you have another week in there. Probably.
Yeah. Right, so maybe the 12th of April, does that collide with anything anyone knows anything about? April 12th.
12 looks good for me.
Okay, let's say April 12th, tentatively. And then in the interim, we'll try to come up with some other dates, 2 more by the end of the year. So that would bring us into probably July, which is a bad idea, because no one's around, right?
10 o'clock?
I think we'll punt on doing actual dates. We'll get something out to you and start trying to figure out what would be the final 2 dates for the year. How's that sound? Okay, so
And
next,
let's aim for that 10 to 12 time slot again.
yeah, 10 to 12, and hopefully Sally will be kind enough to host us again, because this is such a wonderful place to have these meetings, very inspirational.
Yep.
Definitely looks right.
Yeah, and we're free that day.
Fun
so
to-
it's good.
Okay, thank you very much. Good meeting, and we are adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we need a motion? We don't need a motion.
Because I really need another thing. I just figured it was probably going to happen.